Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. As a servant to the people of Queensland and Australia, I want to speak about this bill. I'll speak on this bill and actually speak mostly about the amendments proposed by Senator Patrick to the Intellectual Property Laws Amendment Bill. I won't be voting on this bill because our party will not be supporting any critical legislation until the government comes good with supporting dairy farmers with a code of conduct that is essential. That is a matter of priority. But we also want to protect small business, and we need to continue to ensure small business is given a fair go in our country. Small business is the largest employer in Australia. Now, coming back to this legislation, the purposes of the original legislation were to provide protections for the owners and developers of intellectual property in Australia, including providing protections through the innovation patent system. Many small businesses rely on incremental innovation, and this has been protected using the rapid and low-cost protection as provided in the innovation patent system. The bill before the House would phase out this important protection without replacing it with a system offering the same advantages that the innovation patent system provides. What would be left, Mr Acting Deputy President, would be the standard patent system that is expensive, slow, and provides a level of uncertainty in the level of protection that it should create for the business that is developing innovative technology and ideas. The existing innovation patent process offers rapid and low-cost protection for these businesses, for small businesses. Without that level of protection offered through the innovation patent system, small businesses, which provide substantial employment and potentially turning over millions of dollars annually, may lose all if an unscrupulous business should steal the technology related to commercially relevant innovations before it is protected, fully protected. This government has said that it will stand up and support small businesses, just like it said it will be building dams. Just 3 days ago it said it would be building dams. Turns out it's 2 dams with incremental improvements to existing dams. That's it. No vision, no forethought, no rescuing of farmers today, let alone the future. To dump the innovation patent system and erase the advantages of rapid and inexpensive patents is contrary to the interests of Australian small businesses relying on the protection of their innovative technology. And I must say, in my experience, in my reading of history, my reading of technology, innovation comes from the individual, and small businesses rely on the individual, and they create the perfect ground for fertilising of ideas and developing of ideas. This is, in a sense, a trade measure that works contrary to Australian interests. That's what the government is proposing. Why would they do so? Well, perhaps the Prime Minister's admission almost 2 weeks ago, Thursday week ago, leads to the answer. When he talked, in fact, about unaccountable, internationalistic bureaucrats who dictate the globalist agenda. Australia became a signatory to the Lima Declaration, the UN's Lima Declaration in 1975, when Prime Minister Gough Whitlam, the Labor Prime Minister, signed the declaration. That was ratified the following year by the Liberal Prime Minister, Malcolm Fraser. The original signing was at the Second General Conference of the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, held in Lima, Peru. Australia committed there, and by the way, major countries around the world did not commit, but Australia did. We committed to adopting trade measures designed to ensure increased exports from developing countries to developed countries, including to Australia, and to stimulate free trade transfer of our processes, our management, our technology to the Third World. And look at what it's done. These measures have been devastating to Australian manufacturing, agriculture, industry generally, and the Australian economy in general. A global approach has not been good for Australian interests when Australian interests must come first. The government's responsibility is to the people of Australia and to the country of Australia. Liberal Premier of Western Australia, Richard Court, in 1994 outlined the way in which our government has been usurped by the United Nations in particular, but other globalist entities. That was 25 years ago. 2 years later, 23 years ago, Senator Pauline Hanson, or the MP Pauline Hanson as she was known at the time, also spoke about the erosion of Australian sovereignty and the decimation of Australian industry due to the UN and other globalist entities. 10 years ago, when I learned about it, I started speaking about it. And we can assure everyday Australians that we will work relentlessly to restore Australian sovereignty. We are far too closely aligned with the UN, whose interests are not aligned with the interests of Australia. We need to restore governance in Australia, working for Australia's interests. And we will continue to work to restore governance in Australia, working for Australia's interests. We need to protect small business intellectual property. The major parties, Liberal and Labor, have let down the Australian public in many ways. This bill, neglecting small business, is just another example of a sellout by the government of the interests of Australians. So I support the amendments as moved by Senator Patrick foreshadows, and he will move, because they will maintain the protections as achieved by the current innovation patent system, and we are opposed to the removal of this innovation patent system. Thank you, Mr. Acting Deputy President.